I hear it's spectacular.
What's spectacular?
Wonder Woman. The early reviews are in.
Oh.
People who have seen Wonder Woman, supposedly, it's great. They love it.
Oh, good. That's good news.
Do you think that they are being honest? God.
I sure hope so.
Do you think that it is weird that we feel the need to question whether they're being honest or not?
I do think it is weird.
Why,
but I understand it.
Tell me all about it if you understand it.
Well, because there's been so much pressure to have a female superhero movie, and then there's been all this stuff saying, oh, it's not going to be that good, or, so there's a lot of pressure on it for sure. So,
well, certainly.
I think that because of that, I mean, we're all looking to Wonder Woman if this is going to be a success or not, as, a good measuring point if other female superhero movies will be successes or not.
Yeah. Do you also...
maybe too much pressure.
Well, do you also think that maybe people are sort of tearing it apart or being more critical of it because it has to do with women?
Yes.
It's a woman movie?
Yes,
Right.
I do.
Do you want to take this cyanide with me right now?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. Well, it's supposedly the best DC superhero movie yet, according to The Telegraph UK, which wouldn't be too tough.
No, it wouldn't.
There's not really a lot to compare it to, but we will certainly have our review of the film after it comes out pretty soon.
Yes.
When does it come out? We need a big board. I knew we should have a big board. It comes out on the 2nd of June. I know that. A big board of all the releases, and that's kind of what we need to just keep plowing through. That was great. Right? Oh, what's the next great thing?
Right.
That was great. 50 wipes later. What's next? Justice League. Great. That was great. This is the Just Enough Trope podcast. We're great. I'm your host, Caliban, joined as always by my co-host.
Hi, I'm Mika and Hana.
We're here to bring you all the news that's fit to cast in the world of nerdy entertainment. Some. Little bit of news. Not a lot, because we got to get to the big thing, the big issue, and that is aliens.
Aliens.
I don't mean illegal immigration. That's a big issue. No, I mean the Alien films, and our review of Alien Covenant. And as well, it is Comic Book Club Day once again, and as a little bit of synergy, because we are very good at this.
Oh, yes.
We are reading some Aliens comic books from Dark Horse Comics. Aliens, Sacrifice and Salvation. 2 different stories that are often published together. I think you can still get them together on Amazon as PDF or maybe a physical copy somewhere. And we're going to be talking about those. Sneak preview of that at all?
I think they're enjoyable.
Okay, good. Sneak preview of the Alien movie review? That's enjoyable.
It was.
Where's the next one?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Cal. I hope you're doing well as well.
I am. I'm just getting run down, and I'll probably be. We have a cough button, but I'll need a sniff button.
Oh.
It could be.
Oh no.
Probably a lot of this.
A lot of sniffing.
Not the sort of proud, self-satisfied sniff.
Oh, okay.
That you're used to from me. Just the little bit of drippy, drainy sniff.
Stuff is going around.
Yes.
The
summer cold. This is the season of the summer cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't want that. So to combat that, let's move right into the news. Well, we were talking about DC movies before we got rolling here, and it looks like Justice League is the reports say that the movie is undergoing extensive reshoots.
Oh boy.
And that they've basically made the movie twice at this point.
That's pretty extensive.
Now, speaking on a condition of anonymity, just like when we heard before that the Wonder Woman movie wasn't good, apparently somebody said that,
right? And
that they were freaking out at DC. Turns out that might not be true because people are saying it's really great, so we don't know.
Right.
So this is right up in the air. But an inside source said it's taken pretty much 17 months from the start of principal photography to the time that it'll arrive in the theaters.
Oh, wow.
That's a long time.
That is a long time.
And that this person says that the film has been essentially remade 2 times.
That's a lot of work for a film.
Yeah.
For one film.
The film originally was doing rewrites when Ben Affleck, came on board.
Sure.
To be on set, and then he brought Chris Terrio, the screenwriter that he likes to work with, to rewrite the film, and so it got rewritten again. And so they're doing rewrites or reshoots right now, and who knows? I mean, that's a real bad news for a film.
It seems like bad news. It seems. I mean, we've seen reshoots before.
Yeah.
With like Suicide Squad.
Yeah, although that was more recutting, I think, than reshooting.
Okay.
Yeah. Rogue One would probably be the best modern example I could
Yes.
think of. And I think you and I would both agree, not everybody agrees with us, that was probably detrimental to the film.
I think so.
And so there are a couple trailers, I think, for this film. I know there are. But just forget any of that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it comes in the king tide. I need to talk to this guy or whatever. I need friends. I'm the Flash. That stuff might not even be in the film at this point.
Like, who
it
knows?
could be totally gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a weird business.
It is weird.
Filmmaking. Mm-hmm. And I think that people, it doesn't always turn out the way you want it to. A little bit of good news, though, on the DC side. Wonder Woman 2 has already been greenlit.
Oh, wow.
It's being developed and essentially, is going to go forward. Zack Snyder let this slip when he was promoting a movie, promoting Wonder Woman in Shanghai.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, they said that it's already being worked on. Joss Whedon's Batgirl will probably come out before it does.
Okay.
And I don't think that there is a set date for it. Or a director. Clearly, Gal Gadot will probably come back.
I'm assuming so.
Yeah,
It'd
unless
be weird.
they put her back into Fast and Furious.
It'd be weird if they decided to switch it up, like for Wonder Woman 2.
Right.
Like now played by somebody else.
Right. Would that be so bad?
I don't
Because I
know.
maintain, look, I don't have anything against her. I've never seen her really knock something out of the park. Although she hasn't been in a ton of stuff, so she's untested, I guess, is what I'm saying. But I can't understand what she's saying. I never understand.
I know.
She's just...
It's hard.
And then poor her. So whatever she's Israeli, I think.
I am not sure.
But maybe a little something else in there. So whatever her accent is, they have to get. Usually, you bring somebody on like a speech coach or something like that.
Sure.
We just watched Alien. And Fassbender's doing like an American accent, a little Southern too.
Yes.
So he obviously worked with somebody. They had to bring somebody in, listen to Gal Gadot talk for 2 weeks, then go teach that accent to everybody else.
Yeah, no kidding.
What's Connie Nielsen doing? She's doing something, right? Like
Yeah.
Robin Wright has to do something. Like, what are they doing? We are all doing this weird way that Gal Gadot talks. What? Now you'd say like that. That's offensive. I don't even know who I'm offending. This is generally offensive.
Yeah, I don't know.
I should do every time you do like an accent. Like if you're making fun of somebody, you're saying this guy came in and he was like, just do like a Norwegian accent. Because I'm Norwegian, so I can get away with it. So I was like, and then Eddie Murphy comes in and he goes, "Oh, I got your ice cream and you ain't got none." It's for fans of Delirious. I was trying to talk about Delirious the other day. I can't remember. Oh, it was on my other podcast. Of course.
Okay.
I was talking about people making fun of Star Trek, and I said that Eddie Murphy has a funny Star Trek bit in Delirious. But I was like, I'm not sure I can recommend Delirious, though, because it has not aged well from a politically correct, from a situation of political correctness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
You got to watch out for that. But I said that you could recreate the experience of watching Delirious by, putting on a Busboys album and then watching like half of Beverly Hills Cop 2 afterwards. Same thing. Let's talk about the Flash film. We're just going through the whole DC slate here.
Okay.
It looks like Robert Zemeckis is the front runner to direct the Flash film.
Okay.
Yes.
Alrighty.
We have talked before about how they lost director, and I'm going to nail this, Rick Famuyiwa?
That sounds
the director
correct.
of Dope, and they'd lost a director before that, who I can't remember right now. And so it looks like Robert Zemeckis is going to be on. That means that all the characters will be replaced with dead-eyed CGI automatons.
Oh my
Isn't that
goodness.
correct?
Yeah.
Isn't that what's going to happen?
Yeah, probably. Well, I thought Key and Peele, the director, help me out here.
Oh, here we go. Jordan Peele?
Jordan Peele?
Yeah.
I thought he was in talks, maybe, to direct.
He was, and I think he's out of talks now. He was also in talks for Bing Bing Bong, Bing 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 Bong Bong, for Akira.
Yes.
And he has said that he is not going to do Akira now.
Oh, okay.
He's basically just, I suppose they could come back and offer him double the money, and maybe he'd decide to do it. But he doesn't want to, because he wants to make like his own movies. You know what I mean? He wants
I understand that.
Yeah, he wants to make more original type stuff. One of those things that he wants to do is he's making this horror movie called Lovecraft Street or something like that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's supposed to be, I think, in the vein of how Get Out sort of updated, took horror tropes and stuff like that and kind of updated it and put a spin on it. It's going to be kind of the same thing.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Interesting doing Lovecraft. Especially because, Lovecraft was not exactly known for being the most accepting person. Let's put it that way.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. He's like taking it back.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Okay. All right.
I would like to see him do a movie like that. And when you say you want to do like a Lovecraft thing, I say include Lovecraft. Have him be the star.
Lovecraft himself?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Such a weirdo. Kind of a weird looking dude too.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think that if he looked like Zac Efron, we wouldn't have all these stories, would we?
Oh, and you're probably right.
Right. He'd be out getting laid.
Yeah.
Lovecraft became Lovecraft because he wasn't getting laid.
No, you're right.
At all.
And he was a little weird.
Yeah. I've just, while you've been talking, I've been listening to the velvet tones of your voice, but I was also trying to shore up what I was just kind of bullshitting on before. It's actually a TV. He's going to do a book to TV thing, and it's called Lovecraft Country.
Oh.
Not just a street.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I hope to see that kind of thing from him. This used to be a DC story, and we turned it into a Jordan Peele story. Yeah. You can tell we really want to talk about it.
There you go.
You want to talk about the Black Lightning trailer?
We could talk about that real quick.
Yeah, the trailer for
Sure.
CW, the CW show Black Lightning is out, and what do you think?
I think it looks interesting, and I think what is so funny.
I'm excited about them taking a character like Black Lightning and doing something with it. You know what I mean? Because the Flash show is always going to work. It's the Flash. People like the Flash.
Right.
Take a lesser known hero. Also, take a hero like Black Lightning, who's black, and you can build the whole show around it. So you get more diversity. We have a show just filled with black actors, black characters, and great stuff. But it looks ridiculous. It looks like a sketch. It looks like if Jordan Peele played like a movie star in a movie, and then we saw like a trailer from a movie that he was in. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, it kind of does.
It seems very outsized.
It seems a little cheesy, Yeah,
but right, but that might be good because I think we were complaining on the last show about how all the CW shows are so like dour, and it's all like Arrow because they started with Arrow, so it's all like you can feel the city, rah, rah. And the Flash could be very light, but it's also got all these moments of
it can be dark
too. And then you got to have Joe give his every week he's got to do his speech about how. You know something, Barry? I thought the same thing one time. Then I realized I need my Barry or whatever. All right, great. I'm just going on and on. So, I don't know. I would say possibly potential there.
Yeah, definitely.
I thought it was neat to see that they're going to make it a multi-generational thing.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a CW
I
show,
thought
so
that was
it's all
interesting
about
too.
family. Has to be about family.
Yeah. But interesting that it runs in the family.
Right, yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Probably not going to watch it. I don't watch those shows anymore.
It's
when did we give up on Flash?
When
Spivet?
Like the seasons are so long.
Yeah.
They're so
they
long
really don't need
and
to be
they're
that long.
stretched out.
Yeah.
There's filler episodes, you feel like.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Well, the whole Patty Spivot thing. It's like for 3 or 4 episodes, he's going to have this girlfriend. Nothing's going to happen with them.
Yeah.
Because he's got to end up with his, sister girlfriend.
Right.
Weird. So anyway, so let's move on from there. Let's talk about Marvel really quick. This is a Sony Marvel story, though. Sorry, not the fun Marvel that you're thinking of. Tom Hardy is going to star in Venom.
Oh. Okay.
Venom, of course, is the symbiote, is the perennial bad man. He is a bad man.
Yeah.
A bad thing. Spider-Man villain and sometime anti-hero. Actually, it's pretty much just an anti-hero now.
Yes.
And so Tom Hardy will be playing him. He will be Eddie Brock, the Eddie Brock version of the character.
Okay.
And he'll be directed in the film by Ruben Fleischer, director of Zombieland, Gangster Squad, and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
that's all we know, except we know it's coming out next year for sure.
Okay.
So it's kind of a surprise. Like, this was not... We know that Sony's had to have the property, and they've been, kind of teasing that they might be doing something with it. But yeah, they just pulled the trigger.
Okay.
And go into town. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean...
Can you have a Venom movie without Spider-Man being in it at all? He may do.
He might show up. It seems hard to do that, but then we have a TV show without Batman, pretty much.
Yeah, I think it's a waste because, first of all, Tom Hardy would be good. You do... Hold your horses, dudes. You're all trying to catch Marvel. You're never gonna.
No.
I think all you can hope to do is create your own thing. DC has shown how not to do it. Create your own thing.
Absolutely.
Take your time doing it. And then if people ever get sick of Marvel, or someday their streak is going to have to stop, right? They're going to fall apart. Pick up the pieces. That's how you do it. That's how Lovecraft got his girlfriends. He waited until the Zac Efron guy broke their heart. Then he comes up, oh, I'm sorry. You're not black, are you? Okay.
Oh, stop it.
So, yeah, I think that's what they should do. So you have the first Spider-Man Homecoming. They make another like Spider-Man 2, Homecoming 2 or whatever. Have Tom Hardy in it. Tom Hardy up against Tom Holland, the Toms.
Sure.
He's Venom. He's the bad guy, but then he gets away at the end, and then you do the Venom movie.
That seems like the way to do it.
And it's like he's going to be a hero, but it's his own brand of justice, kind of like they did in the comics. And then it can be PG-14.
Kind of like the Punisher or something.
Yeah, or Deadpool.
Yeah.
Although probably not as funny.
No.
Eating Brains is pretty funny, though.
Is it?
For some. It looks like DuckTales, the DuckTales reboot that was announced a while back, is more details now. I just don't even know how to get into this, so I'll just say it. Lin-Manuel Miranda is going to play Gizmo Duck.
Yeah, I heard about this.
Yeah.
People are, I think, quite surprised by his involvement in it. Do you think he's a big fan of DuckTales?
I think that I'm surprised. Well, everybody. Okay, yes. The answer is yes, because he's a big nerd. He's a nerd, so he watched DuckTales, and at some point he also became a history nerd as well, and liked rapping too. So that's how all that kind of fell out. So, yeah, maybe he's just on a victory lap now for all of his. Maybe if he likes Micronauts, like he'll try to get the Micronauts movie made, or whatever else he's a nerd or a fan of. It seems like it's just all you have to do is write a story about a rapping founding father of the country.
Yeah.
And it's you got it made.
Off to the races. Well, I mean, I suppose it should come as no surprise that him being a nerd himself, he's into DuckTales and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be a surprise that he would want to be involved.
Yeah. And, we've already got David Tennant, on board as Scrooge, and other people in it, like Bobby Moynihan. Bobby Moynihan, did you get a job for DuckTales and then you thought, that's it, sky's the limit? Just walks out of 30 Rock, double birds in the air. This is for you, piece of toast. I wouldn't quit your day job just yet, Bobby, but he did. So he's leaving SNL. So
oh no.
Speaking of TV shows that we are getting a Witcher TV show for Netflix.
Oh, okay.
So this is the other side of the coin. We've complained before about how it seems like Netflix is letting all your favorite movies and TV shows go,
right?
Because they're just going to fill it out with their own stuff,
right?
As long as they keep making good stuff, I guess I don't really care.
That's fair.
Except I get a little frustrated when I want to find, where is so-and-so? Oh, it's not there. Great.
I know.
But they got this other good show.
I know.
So they're going to have a Witcher show. Do we need to explain The Witcher? Listeners know what The Witcher is.
I think
video game.
People know.
There's actually it's based on Polish books, I think, a set of Polish books.
Okay.
It's really popular over there. Not so much here, but of course the video game sort of raised the stock of that property. There was a TV show from like the 2000s done in Poland.
Okay.
But it's very low budget. It looks kind of like Xena, but like with less money.
Sure.
On the screen.
I could totally see that.
And so now we're going to get this Netflix TV show. Other than that, that's all we pretty much know. There's no casting, no nothing. So.
Okay, well.
Yeah. Here's another thing we don't really know anything about, except this, that Netflix is going to have a Dark Crystal show.
Okay.
Remember The Dark Crystal?
Yes, I do.
You can't watch it on Netflix.
No, you can't.
But they're going to have a prequel show. It's going to tell the story before the story, I guess.
Okay.
And I guess the Henson family will be involved. It'll be directed. Actually, the showrunner, and I'm sure he'll direct as well, is Louis Leterrier.
Okay.
Who directed the Incredible Hulk film. That's the Edward Norton one.
All right. Interesting.
Just makes sense to me.
Does it? I
Not
mean,
sure how
does he have like a lot of puppetry, directorial
you know what?
experience?
We could sit here and laugh at it. Maybe he does. I don't really know. But I just know that, he made kind of crappy Hulk film. And then
right.
maybe a crappy prequel series. Why this? Don't get me wrong. Because all the nerds that I knew when they found out about this flipped.
Yeah.
They're really excited about this. And I'm somewhat excited. Like, once again, if it's good, I'll be happy. But I wasn't like really jonesing for the next chapter in the Dark Crystal story.
I think there are a lot of people who think very fondly.
Where
of
is
this,
the Labyrinth prequel and or sequel?
I would be more excited about.
Toby's
that,
all grown
honestly.
up now.
Yes,
and he's they just adapt the manga.
Yeah, right.
Because officially, I guess the manga is supposed to be canon.
Oh, okay.
According to who, I don't know. According to David, he said it on his deathbed. David Bowie said.
David Bowie is the expert.
Is canon
of Labyrinth.
They're like, what is he talking about? They wouldn't know till later. So that's all good news for Netflix. A little bit of bad news for Netflix. Their Netflix Films film, Okja, which is a story about a little girl and her genetically engineered pig monster.
Yeah.
Or something. By Bong Joon-ho. Bong Joon-ho. The movie was booed at Netflix. At Cannes.
At Cannes?
Yes.
Huh.
They booed it.
Why did they boo it?
So first of all, Cannes is the audiences are there. They're like turned up,
Sure.
It's not just a bunch of people in like ball gowns like going, "Ooh, that was a wonderful film by Tarkovsky," or whatever. Like
right.
They let you know. They boo if it sucks, if you're Vincent Gallo, for instance, and they stand up and clap, if it's good. And so it was booed. Now, I'd like to stop there because we can talk about we saw the trailer for this film as well.
Right.
And it looks stupid, and I want
yeah.
I want Bong to like get a real like lust for pottery or just something else that's not filmmaking, because I hate his films. But they were really just booing the fact that it was a Netflix film. Like, I don't know if they liked the movie or not, but the Netflix title card came up and people booed.
Well, that seems silly to me.
And they also booed an Amazon film when the Amazon title card came up.
So they just don't like streaming films?
Yes, they don't want streaming companies to make films, I guess.
Or at least not to be at cons.
It seems kind of close-minded.
It seems kind of snooty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
What's up with that?
I don't know. I mean,
You upstarts. There's a lot of, like, I've seen a lot of good movies that were made or paid for by Channel 4, and then you always see, like, the UK lottery. They're sponsored by lottery money.
Sure.
So they're basically made, from the BBC or whatever through that wing. And they're great. And we wouldn't have that without a little dab of socialism.
Right.
Right? So I bet that at first people were upset about that, and then they turn out good films, and we're good to go.
Right.
But, yeah, I don't know. I'm not surprised, but at the same time, it's like, oh, guys, come on.
It seems a little uppity, and, I mean, the
film... the film.
Yeah.
Boo when you...
Boo away.
Yeah, boo when you see Bong Joon-ho's name. He is turning Tilda Swinton, one of our greatest treasures, into Helena Bonham Carter, like late period Helena Bonham Carter.
Oh, boy.
She's got to have some funny teeth in every one of the movies that she's in of his now, and she's doing a thing.
It seems...
Don't do a thing.
Yeah, no.
Why? Why are you doing a thing? And I never understand... We said this before. Oh, have we said that? I don't know. We're saying it now. I'm saying it now. That, like, you can watch something like Chan-wook Park's, like, movies.
Sure.
And they are wacky
yep.
and, like, horrifying in, like, equal measure.
Mm-hmm.
And then you watch them over here, like you watch them in subtitles. It's a Korean film. Something about maybe this is racist. I don't know. But the distancing of, like, oh, wow, that was wacky Koreans. That wacky Korean filmmaker. Then they remake it, and it's got Josh Brolin in it or something, and it doesn't work at all.
Right.
And I just feel like he's cut out the middleman, and he's just making movies in America now that don't work at all.
that could be.
People are like,
completely
Snowpiercer's so great. I fully disagree.
Yeah.
Fully.
Yeah.
And I guess I kind of see why, but I think it's more of a, stop me because I'm getting way into the weeds here and I'm going to offend people, but I think you're not stopping me. It's me. You better get up off your ass and stop me. I think people are like, I don't get it. I like it. And sometimes there's no there. Like there's nothing to get.
Well, I mean, sometimes I think that there is nothing to get. That maybe there isn't a great story to be told.
Yeah.
And so maybe there's a struggle for people that they want to fit in, so they say they like it when they don't understand it at all.
Conformity.
Yes.
So we're making fun of people for liking things.
I think we are.
Yeah, I told you to stop me.
Okay.
You didn't stop me.
I'm sorry.
Somebody should have stopped Diane Lane. This is the last little news note we'll have. They asked her whether Justice League would be any good, or excuse me, if it would blow Avengers out of the water,
okay.
and if she had any spoilers she could give them. And she said no and no.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So she just said, no, it's not going to be good. Or at least it's not going to be as good as the Avengers. I hate to disappoint, she said. Just like how they said, Lawrence Fishburne had said a little while ago that he was frustrated that the DC movies are clearly not as good as Marvel movies.
Oh my goodness.
So their own crew, their own actors
are
just
dissing it.
Yeah, I just imagine them head down, the Vince Guaraldi jazz trio playing.
Yes.
Pull their time card out of the rack, put it in the clock, and then as soon as they take another step forward, they become completely gray, black and white, desaturated, then walk onto the set with Zack Snyder and just have to just puppet their lines and just go through the motions and then come home. Dejected
How upsetting.
That they're trapped in this depressing, failed franchise.
How upsetting and disappointing for them and for all of us.
Yeah, Diane, just come on, you're an actress. Just pretend.
Just play it off a
but
little
apparently
bit.
she's just like, nah. Maybe she got cut out of the film, or maybe they gave her a smaller role and then less money, and she's like, screw these guys. I'm going to try to get out of my contract.
Maybe.
Martha Kent doesn't have to be alive for all of these things.
No.
Kill me off.
That's true. She doesn't. She doesn't have to be in all the films either.
Are Superman's parents alive?
His mom is.
Right. Duh. I meant in the comics.
Oh, in the
I haven't
comics?
read them in a while.
I
Of course.
have no idea.
Every 2 weeks there's some new reboot or something like that, so
right.
Who knows? But yeah, I just feel like Batman's parents are so important to his story. Clark's are important, but
yes.
I feel like there's an emphasis of the Kryptonian parentage over the Earth parentage a lot. It's
yes.
like, oh, what did my father not tell me? Or maybe my father wasn't as nice great as we think he was, or
right.
he's left me a message or something. And meanwhile, like, Ma Kent's just staring at a phone. He never calls.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains.
Still think it's good news, though, because after the Ghostbusters debacle,
yeah,
I mean, this is like a tall, thin, curvy, like pretty woman who shows her legs all the time, so maybe it's not quite equivalent, but I'm glad that people are excited about a woman-led genre film.
Yes.
And they're not taking a crap on it.
Definitely.
I have a feeling it's not quite as good as people are saying it is.
Yeah.
Because it just kind of looks like a mess from the trailers.
The trailers look like a mess. There's a lot of slow motion. And
well, that's just...
I know.
That's the Snyderverse.
And she does a lot of kicking.
Yeah, you got to get the
A lot of kicking.
Yeah, there's got to be a lot of kicking.
So
we're not talking about that. Let's talk about Alien Covenant.
Yes,
the new Alien film from Master of something. We'll talk about
Master of the Universe.
We'll talk about him in a little bit, but from director Ridley Scott. This continues, in a way, the story from the first film of this series trilogy. Maybe it's going to be a trilogy. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
Prometheus. And I think we can all agree that Prometheus, no good.
No.
Mini review for Prometheus. Go.
Terrible.
Can you get a smaller word that means terrible?
Awful.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
you're
Went right into
welcome.
that one.
Yeah.
This one is, people are sort of iffy on it. It's a 66 on Metacritic. Nobody would hold that up as a big win. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
But do you know how much Prometheus is on Metacritic?
65% on Metacritic.
And it's 72 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
So we have this thing, and this is the reason that we use Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic as a way to peg, quote unquote, bad movies for our movie segment. But this is, we can kind of nail them for it being inconsistent.
Yes.
I think everybody pretty much, the party line is that Prometheus sucked.
Yes, I would
pretty
agree
much
with
across
that.
the board. And yet 72% Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Remember when it first came out, people were like, yeah, it's good.
Right.
Yeah, I like when Chris Evans is... Oh, wait a minute, wrong movie. Anyway, I think it's a similar thing, though. So, yeah, forget all that, because that ain't what this is. This is Covenant. How does the film start? Well, give us one of your patented 25-word. Just a joke.
Well, it starts with like a flashback with David, the robot who we saw in Prometheus.
Right.
With his creator.
Right. Guy Pearce.
Talking about life.
Yeah. Why?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Because they wanted it to start somewhere.
In Iceland.
And that was as good enough a place as ever,
yeah.
I guess.
No, it starts with James Franco is in this movie for about 30 seconds. When he's, it's not, how deep do we spoil? It doesn't really matter. We'll try not to, we won't spoil the ending. We might spoil a twist or two, so be warned. But yeah, James Franco dies at the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
Very beginning.
Yes.
And then later on, his his wife is looking at a picture of him and he's rock climbing, and he had to be like, do we have to do rock climbing?
I know.
Does it have to be rock climbing? And you don't see both my arms. I mean, one of them's holding the camera. But,
well, right.
Anyway,
right.
So yeah, and so this is the Covenant is a ship that is a colony ship. The movie puts this at, I don't know the date, but it's the early 22nd century.
Yes.
Which means that the overall timeline of the Alien films is kind of strange because the first movie didn't really have like a year on it, I don't think.
Okay.
And the second movie, they don't just come out and say what the year is, but it's sort of on the edges of things, like in readouts and things like that. And of course, it's 57 years after the first movie.
Right.
Then you get into... she's in cryosleep for 200 years, in Alien Resurrection or whatever.
Right.
Or 200 years later, they clone her and bring her back. It's always jumping around. Now we've got prequels, and so nobody really knows where it fits. But this is 10 years after Prometheus.
Yes.
Which, to date, I think is the earliest film, although some people think that the first Alien was also around this time as well.
Oh, okay.
Because supposedly... the Aliens is like 21, 22, I think. And if it's 57 years before that, that puts it, far back enough that it should be around where Prometheus is. But that wouldn't even make any sense.
No.
Because Prometheus is like the first time that they go, well, let's get mixed up in this thing.
Right.
Let's go meet these whitey bald guys.
Right.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. It's not going to matter. It won't be on the test. And it's a colony ship sent out to colonize. The entire crew is made up of husbands and wives,
couples,
basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was an interesting touch, I
Yes.
thought. And something goes wrong, and they get they receive a transmission from another planet
Uh-huh.
that they didn't know about, and it's clearly like a human, like an Earthling,
Yes.
sending this transmission. They go, let's go check it out. They go check it out. Hijinks ensue.
Yes.
Yes.
And alien hijinks.
Oh, thanks for clarifying.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Right.
Just wanted to
it
make
wasn't
sure.
the Keystone Cops
Yeah.
in this case. What'd you think of the film?
I thought it was all right. I mean, for an alien film, it was okay. It's hard to really follow Alien and Aliens as far as I'm concerned.
Nothing can, and they'll never stop trying.
Yeah.
They'll never stop trying.
So, it doesn't matter to me how many different forms of the alien you have.
Yeah.
That isn't really what does it for me. It's the fear of being taken over, and you don't know what this thing is.
Yeah.
And
that's always been what works about these films,
right?
And they lost that a long time ago,
right? And
that kind of exists in this film, kind of, but not really,
in parts.
Yeah,
it's like they tried to redo a few things that they've done in other films.
Yeah.
Like there is they do do a lot of chase scenes and stuff like that. There's a lot of being stuck in a enclosed area with an alien.
Yeah.
To some extent.
To some.
Yeah.
But not as much as usual. I actually think that... Oh, and I want to talk about James Franco really fast. Yeah, he's not really in the movie at all.
No, he's not.
And he doesn't really even appear in flashback. And I think earlier on he was supposed to. I think in the script they had like... We would kind of flash back to him and see... It would he'd help fill in the story a little more. No, he's not. And then we watched there are a couple different videos online.
Yes.
On YouTube that are sort of... promotional videos, but they're also like prologues.
Yes.
That sort of get you into it. And he's in one of those, and he leaves 20 seconds into a 4-minute video.
Yes.
So he's not even in that video.
No, he's not.
Let's talk about that really fast. This has no structure. There's one called The Last Supper.
Yes.
And it is 4.5 minutes of the actors from Alien Covenant. I mean, it's basically, we shot a prologue, decided we didn't want it in the film.
Right.
And now it's just a marketing tool, right?
And it's on IMDb. It's listed as a film.
Yeah, right.
Or a short film,
exactly.
what have you.
And
so.
Yeah, and that wasn't very good. Well, actually, I did kind of like, it helps set up the dynamic, even though it doesn't help set up Franco at all, but it sets up the dynamic a little more that you've got Billy Crudup, who is sort of the second in command.
Yep.
And we already see that he's insecure. It's kind of his defining character trait. And he's worried the crew resents him. And he kind of, like a lot of insecure people, he kind of resents them. He pre-resents them.
Right.
But that's about it. And then they do a gag that is the dumbest thing I've ever seen, where a girl starts choking on her food, and you think, oh, she's going to blow up like John Hurt. But no, she just was just choking. Yeah. And then Walter, who's there, David, gives her the Heimlich, and everything's fine. Yeah.
Everything is just A-okay.
What's the point?
I don't know.
Is that like a grandpa joke or something?
I don't know.
Is Ridley Scott is just laughing himself silly, and the editors are like, all right, Mr. Scott, sure, we'll put it together. So anyway, yeah, this film. You said, and I liked what you said, or I agree with what you said, that they tried to put those elements of horror and of alien horror movies in, the claustrophobia, that sort of thing. Yes. And I think that was... They were scary. There was a lot of exciting, scary parts in this. Like when they were getting away, I was like, I hope they get away. But I think that that's what holds them back, because they have this totally new premise we've never seen before, where there's this colony ship. It's full of married couples. Although, why does the crew have to be married? They had 2,000 colonists on the ship. They're the colonists. Right. Every one of the crew is expected to make babies too, except the gay couple, I guess. So they get there, and they're going to set up a colony, and that has its own problems. That has its own sort of kind of trials, or interesting things like that. You could have them messing. The alien could mess up for them. Yes. But instead, no, we just get the same stuff that you were describing that's in the other films. There's even a point where, and these days you watch trailers and you kind of know it's going to be in the movie. Yes. And there's a couple things that didn't happen until like the last 10 minutes, and I'm like, was that just in the trailer? Like the whole shower scene thing. Yeah. Which is a very like 80s horror movie thing. Couples making out in the shower and then they get killed by the alien. That shows up in the last 10 minutes of the film. Yes. Just because we spent all that time on the planet, we haven't had them running around with an alien on a ship. That's what Alien is, right? I know. So they just glue that on to the end of the film. It did feel glommed on. Yeah. It totally did. And they did that on the surface too, because when the guy first gets he's bleeding and he's got the stuff in him or whatever. Yes. They take him to the med bay in the little jump ship. Yes. And then they have a scene where Amy Smeets is running up and down the corridor, Yes. She does like a couple times. Great. Probably the best actress in the film. Love Amy Smeets. But she's just running up and down corridors. Yes. I'm like, how long is this corridor? The ship is like 20 yards long, tops. Yes, tops. But you have to have that scene where, let me out of here. No, I can't open the door. Oh, my God. Oh, my gosh. And it's like, no, you're telling the story where they're on this planet. It's a whole nother, and there's this weird city. And like, what's all that? Don't worry about that. People like guns and aliens. So I was a little disappointed in that, because it doesn't seem to know what it wants to be. Here's something that I know it wants to be. It wants to convince you that don't worry about Prometheus. That's over. Yeah, pretty much. The movie shits on Prometheus for you. It does. Basically. I mean, it basically, besides having David in it, there's really no connection. And they talk about Elizabeth Shaw quite a bit. Yeah, and they clean up all the kind of dangling plot threads of Prometheus by just blowing them up.
Pretty much.
It's like, could we sew this up, or do we sew the shirt up, or do we set it on fire? They just set it on fire.
Pretty much.
And it's right polyester, so it just goes right up. Let's talk about David. So there are a lot of changes in these kind of new Alien films from the focuses of the old Alien films.
Okay.
The old Alien films went from having a central character, Ripley,
right,
to focusing, now the new films focus on a disposable crew, basically.
Yes.
Bunch of people, they're just going to be in this film. Most of them are going to die. Then we're going to move on.
Yes.
Except, you could argue at this point that David is sort of the main character of these films.
He kind of is, and he's not a very likable character, so it's...
Are you kidding me? He is super likable. I mean, not like morally, but I mean like as a character.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like, it's like this Dr. Mabusian like type thing where he's the bad guy.
Yes.
But we kind of... He's fascinating, you know? And you kind of want to... As I was watching this, I'm like, I'm rooting for this guy. He's horrible. But I kind of like him.
Oh my goodness.
They've if they can keep this going, they found a way to center a movie franchise around the bad guy, basically.
Yeah.
And he's the connecting element, and I think that's kind of neat.
It is kind of neat.
Now, the only reason that they're doing that is because they still want to show you how the alien became the alien.
Right.
And when I saw the first Aliens movie from 1979, I never asked myself once where the alien came from.
Of course not.
Never cared. And as we'll talk about when we talk about Dark Horse Comics, everybody who writes alien stories gets caught up in that.
Yes.
They get obsessed with that when it just doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
But that's what they're doing. And so I think if you really pay attention, you can follow the thread. And this is, the alien that we see in Aliens and Alien comes from this. David created it.
Yes.
Basically, by experimenting. And they get out of it by saying, oh, the goo or whatever, it can do a lot of stuff. It does all kinds of stuff.
Right.
And David has, refined it to the point where it does this thing where there's an egg. Where's the egg come from? No queen. Yeah. Well, Aliens was made without Ridley Scott's input, so that's why they put a queen in there. Which actually led, some outlet that I read was theorizing that maybe they're cutting Aliens out. Maybe they're Superman 3ing it.
Oh.
Like they're going to make this universe, the Scott-verse, of Alien, and the movies that don't fit, they just don't
include.
Acknowledge. Yeah. So they're saying like maybe there is no queen, like Aliens doesn't happen. My thing is, you've got eggs. Where do the eggs come from?
Right.
How did David make eggs?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And it still doesn't make sense about how'd they get on the ship that crashed on LV-426, that I'm sure in the next film they'll find a way to spin it so that that's David's ship or something like that. But that's clearly at this point a different ship. So if these aliens come from the painstaking process of putting a bit of stuff in the guy's drink, and then he has sex with Liz Shaw, and then she has a squid baby, and the squid baby puts a thing in an architect, and it turns into the beaked alien thing, and then at some point David experiments on it for 10 years, and then it gets into Billy Crudup, and then it becomes the alien that we know and love.
Right.
What?
Exactly.
What about story and characters? What about Lucky? Like what? Well, who cares?
I know.
I'm not reading a textbook, a biology textbook. I don't care.
I don't
They're so
care
obsessed
either.
with it.
It's
like how the Terminator films are just, their head is up their ass so far because of the time travel and that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, if we do this, then, Marty will fade from the photograph, and that means that Judgment Day is... Who cares? Remember when it was just the guy, from Aliens and Sarah Connor getting chased around by Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Right. Exactly.
There's a whole sub-story, where are we? I don't even know, in Terminator that's like just about the cops.
Yes.
And I think part of that is because when you make a Terminator movie now, you have to have Arnold or whoever. You have to have a guy either playing Kyle Reese or just the Kyle Reese part.
Right.
And they're getting chased around at set pieces. But there's a very conventional side to Terminator, up until the point that the Terminator comes to the police station and kills everybody.
Right.
And then we're really off to the races. But before that, you meet the cops, Lance Henriksen, it's Paul Winfield. They've got these little sides. They're building their characters. You think, oh, these guys they're part of the film.
They're going to be in this forever.
They're going to figure this out. They're going to do something. No, they all get wiped out. They're all taken off the board. When you drive through the front of that police station, you're like, oh no, this is a totally different thing.
Yes.
We need a moment like that, I think, to bring these movies back, because they get so mired in these details that they don't even follow up on. I was very interested in the idea of, okay, so they're all couples.
Yes.
And they're not, we don't really know, like, it's Weyland-Yutani still. You have to keep pushing that because remember Alien?
Yep.
And they're kind of, it's like the Merchant Marines, you know what I mean? They're like, not exactly military, but they have a military structure. They had, see, in this film, they made the distinction of, like, they're all the guys who are clearly like the Marines.
Right.
And I was thinking this while I was watching the film. How come we've never gone back to Space Marines? In every comic book, video game, whatever, that's all it is all day long is Space Marines. There's one movie that has Space Marines. It's Aliens. Everybody loves it, and we've never tried to do that again.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I don't know. You talk for a while.
I don't know why they're obsessed with showing the progression of the alien as well. And like you said, I don't really care.
No, at all.
About that at all. And I wish there was more character moments in this film.
Yeah. I would, like I was saying before, I really wanted to see how the fact that they were all couples affected the dynamic.
Right.
Because you've got something like Alien where they're all doing their jobs. Some of them don't like each other very much.
Right.
There's nothing going on between Dallas and Ripley, I don't think, but you get the feeling that they care about each other.
Right.
As co-workers and, possibly maybe more. So when he goes in those tunnels, like, she doesn't want him to go because it's not just, I don't want my crew member to die, but I like this guy. I don't want to go in there. It's crazy.
Right.
And so how does that happen when you've got 14 people and they're all spouses?
Yes.
Never gets explored.
No.
Never. There's one time where one character's, other significant other gets killed and he doesn't, well, I just said he, but there's guys and girls in couples.
Yeah.
Sometimes. He doesn't find out until like 20 minutes later.
Right.
And the whole time you think, oh, let's work the dramatic irony of that. They never do.
No.
They never really do.
Nuh-uh.
And then he finds out and he's like, all right, let's keep going.
Yeah, and it doesn't really affect him as much as you think it should.
Not in any way. It's disappointing.
It is disappointing because why go all the trouble to making this, conceit of...
Right. Also, it didn't, like you said, or I said, it didn't have to be. They didn't have to be couples at all.
No.
Because there's 2,000 other human beings that are colonists.
Yes.
They're just the crew. You just hire them to do a job.
That's right. So, yeah.
If I hire a truck driver to take my goods across the country, his wife better be in that cab with him. That's all I can say.
And the only time you really see them all as couples is in that
YouTube video.
YouTube video, yes, The Last Supper.
Yeah. So that was. I don't need everything to be explained to me. I don't need everything to be hit, beat by beat like they do with how the aliens become aliens.
Right.
It's a nice bit of world building, but it's not used for anything.
No,
which I think
not.
was kind of sad. There is a lot of, speaking of not beating you over the head, there's a lot of things in this film that they don't explain, and I like that.
Yes.
There's a part where, and if they did explain it, like if they just showed up and David just said, "Here's what I've been doing," no movie, but I liked David's like inner sanctum or whatever.
Yes.
When you see all the stuff.
Yeah.
And I was, watching, because he's doing the thing with the flute, the scene with the flute, which, at this point, it's easy to do a scene with actor with himself, but it was done really well.
It was done well.
And so while they were doing that, I was looking around the room and like, what is that? What is that? Like, what's he been doing all this time?
Right.
We find out later, but at the time, it gives you. It was a clear attention to detail.
Yes.
A Giger
yes.
esque level of detail, and then of course the drawings, which couldn't have been by Giger because he's dead. But there's the American Psycho moment where Catherine Waterston goes into the thing and she's like, "Oh, he's been drawing some stuff." And she's looking at the drawings. She's like, "Oh my God, what are these drawings?" He been drawing? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then of course he's right there.
Yeah, of course he is because he's David.
Right. So many people, and okay, also, let's talk about Ridley Scott and then maybe wrap it up.
Okay.
I was thinking about this too. What makes Ridley Scott Ridley Scott? He's directed some great movies, maybe some of the best movies, but I was trying to think like what makes him distinctive as a director. What are this? Well, you got to see a Ridley Scott movie. You're going to get a
something
Evangelist soundtrack.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I really don't know. And so I think that he's getting up there. I just think that he's never really been a horror director.
Oh.
He directed a horror movie, one of the most famous horror movies.
Yes, he did.
But when it comes to this, a lot of his choices are so pedestrian. And I feel like that's too harsh of a word, but I can't think of anything else. How many people get killed or surprised because they're looking at something and somebody comes up behind them?
Many.
The oldest horror trick there is.
Yes.
There's on 3 separate occasions, usually after somebody has somebody come up behind them.
Yes.
They turn around, and then we cut to a shot of the doorway or the entrance to whatever area they're in, and the camera slowly pulls back while you hear,
Yeah, exactly.
He does that like 3 times.
I know.
That's like the basic bitch level of horror filmmaking. I mean, there's nothing really.
There's nothing unique about it.
The way that there's a lot of great visual elements, and the production design is really great. Like I like all the pods and like when they're on the ship and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the city that they go to is fascinating. They never tell us a single thing about it.
No.
I mean, we know that it's, somebody lives there. Are we spoiling things?
Well,
we know people live there.
Used to live
there.
there.
Yeah, but we
anyways.
never really get into anything.
No.
Because we're gonna keep making that alien. Show
Yep.
us how it's made.
Yep.
How did it get made?
How did it get made? Yeah, exactly.
Any closing thoughts?
I think that Fassbender did a really great job at doing Walter as well as David.
Yeah, he's really great.
And
apparently he just makes alien movies now. But he's good. But
they're just very distinctive from each other, and I really liked Walter a lot more. But
I'd watch a Walter movie.
Yeah.
Although at one point a character gets stabbed with a flute. The second they brought that flute out, I'm like, somebody's getting stabbed with that thing. And they missed the chance to stab a guy with the flute and then like have blood run on all the holes.
Oh no!
Or at least it goes, whoo, as the person dies. They missed the shot to do that. Now I guess would you recommend it?
Oh boy. If you are a completionist and you like the Alien series,
this is the reluctant recommendation.
Then I would recommend it. I don't know. If you like Aliens and Alien, then I guess I would recommend that.
What about Superman 3? I would.
Yeah,
I absolutely would.
Okay,
it's 2 hours long. I don't feel like. It's one of those things where you're never bored while you're watching it, although when you are watching it, like later on in the movie, when they're all running around, I did think back to the beginning of the movie and went, it took forever to kind of get going. Like they do this whole thing where they have to repair the ship, and they spend like 40 minutes just doing all this stuff and kind of settling in.
Yeah.
Which you would normally do to get us familiar with the characters and have us really care about them, but there's just not much to grab onto for the characters.
No.
So you never really do that. And so I was like, maybe the beginning is a little slow, but I think it's fine. It's like I said, it's not it's basic bitch horror film making. Also he never knew, or he doesn't have any control over this, but they don't know what makes the alien scary. Yeah, it's gonna rip your face off. Yeah, whatever. There's an outtake from the original Alien where there's a scene where the alien comes out of this thing and he's going to attack Veronica Cartwright or whatever. Okay. And it's just the actor stands up. He's this 8-foot tall like basketball player or whatever, and kind of walks towards her, and it looks ridiculous. Because you're used to seeing the alien hanging upside down, he's crawling on all fours,
right.
It's animal-like.
Yes.
And it just the magic is killed in a second when this guy just gets up and walks across a room, arms swinging like a human being.
Right.
The alien walks several times in this, stands up on 2 legs. I have no doubt that this thing can stand on 2 legs, but we shouldn't see it like that necessarily.
No.
And if they're trying to do some kind of parallel to like, see the humanity
like
in it
us.
or whatever. Yeah. It didn't come across. It just came across as not very scary.
Yes.
There's also a part where an alien is born and then David's like, hey, what's going on? The alien's like, I'm doing pretty good. I have no what was happening there.
I don't know.
So anyway,
they were trying to be funny, and it was just really weird.
Give me 5, my man. All right.
I'll show you how to dance.
Norwegian accent. Yeah. So all that's a problem. I don't think there's one practical alien in the entire thing, which is real sad. It's all CGI, and it shows.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, they use digital effects to double Michael Fassbender, I'm sure, and all that looked great.
Yes.
So I don't know why they can't make an alien look great. And somebody else said this on a review or something. You see it in broad daylight, like, look, it's weird looking and scary, and it's got big teeth, and it's slavering, drool or whatever. But keep it in the shadows. It's dark.
Scarier.
Think about how much of the alien you see in the first Alien. Like, very little of it.
Very little.
Yeah. But it's just running around. Hey, it's an alien. Yep.
It's scarier when you don't see it.
Exactly.
You just hear it.
That's basic bitch stuff.
Yeah.
That's something you should know.
Yes.
But otherwise, it's fun. I think it's a fun movie. I think it's a great looking movie. Billy Crudup is great. He's always great.
Yeah.
I don't even like Catherine Waterston, and she's good.
She did a good job.
Yeah. Although I'd say serious Danny McBride is your worst Danny McBride.
You do like him more when he's joking around.
They need to give him some more jokes.
Yeah, I agree.
So, Alien Covenant, we've got a reluctant recommendation and an enthusiastic recommendation. I'd say go see it for sure. It's in theaters now. All right, let's talk Alien, Sacrifice, or it's Aliens. It's always Aliens now.
I guess so.
Dan O'Bannon is just, it's supposed to be Alien. No, it's too late. It's Aliens versus Predator. It's never Alien versus Predator.
Right.
It's never Aliens versus Predators.
No.
They're going to do a pickup basketball game or something. Never see that. No, but we're talking the Dark Horse comic book. Technically, you could call this a graphic novel, I suppose. What's the definition of a graphic novel?
I don't know. That's a really good question. Does it need to be one whole story, or can it be a couple of stories?
Yeah, if it's an anthology or a collection or something like that. Yeah.
Does that count?
I suppose that probably counts.
Probably. I mean, these are two stories that usually get put together.
Yeah, yeah. I think they make really good bookends.
I think so too.
Yeah. They were originally packaged together in 2001, I believe.
Okay.
And the original stories themselves came out in like 92 or 93. So this is old.
This is
old stuff. And it's from some comic professionals that you would probably recognize, but who weren't a big thing when they were published, or at least not as big. We'll talk about Aliens Sacrifice first, because that's the first one in the diptych. But yeah, Alien Sacrifice. What happens in Alien Sacrifice?
Basically, this woman they crash land on this island, and she's like the only survivor.
And then this is in the world of Alien.
Yes.
The future.
And aliens exist, and people know that aliens exist, and at least
seems like it.
It seems like
they don't really get into that, but yeah, it seems like it.
It seems like it. So there's an alien on this island, but there's also a colony.
Right.
And she knocks on the door, and they let her in, and they were hoping that more people survived, and they were hoping there would be some more supplies and everything too. Yeah. Because they were getting excited for the supply ship.
Yeah, they're a colony in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Kind of a backwater, it would seem.
Right. And it turns out that she is a priest.
Well, yeah, she's a chaplain.
She's a chaplain.
Because, again, we don't understand or know the real structure of the Weyland-Yutani fleet,
right,
and how it works. But, yeah, she's a chaplain.
So she offers up her services to the colony.
Right, but get to the meat, though. You're just describing
well, she finds out something is fishy with this colony, and she discovers that they are giving human baby, or like it's like an embryo baby type thing, that it's not quite human, as sacrifices to the alien every couple of days.
That's the lead that you buried.
Yes.
Down with Aaron Eckhart in the center of the earth. Yeah, right, exactly. And so this is how they survive, and they've made this kind of deal, it seems, with an alien that's living in the woods.
Yes.
Outside, where they bring these babies, and he kind of leaves them alone.
Yeah.
But none of them are cool with it.
No.
They're all emotionally racked by what they're doing.
Right.
And then tell me about the part where they talk about how the alien is made.
No, I don't think that happens in this.
Exactly. Not at all. It does. Why is it called Sacrifice? I mean, other than the fact that they are kind of sacrificing these babies
well,
to his...
she decides that she's not okay with this, so she's going to sacrifice herself instead of
and
baby.
It's also about the things that we sort of have to give up or kill, within ourselves.
Yes.
If you believe in bullshit like that.
Well, and thinking about what you're okay with.
Right, and what you're not.
Exactly. And she's not okay with, they're not exactly human, but they're still babies.
Right, yeah, that's the thing. And I kind of wish that the story didn't quite let you off the hook with this.
Yeah.
Because they say that the babies are like genetic constructs.
Right.
But aren't really, they're like cloned babies, but they're not really alive.
Right.
Like if you take them away from the machines, they'll die within a few hours or something like that.
Yes.
So they're just kind of like crying meat, basically,
right.
for the alien. And my thing is like, all right, where'd they get this machine?
I know.
If you play it out, because we just watched a film that was all about colonizing and there's frozen embryos and whatnot.
Yes.
So, how many embryos? Oh, it did say how many embryos. They had like 2,000 colonists and like 1,000 and change embryos or something.
Something like that, yeah.
So are some of those colonists like daycare workers? They better be.
I hope so.
Anyway, so yeah, they could have easily explained it as like we were sent here as a colony, and then one of the things we have is we have this machine that helps us create embryos because we need to populate the colony.
Right.
And so they're actually giving the creature real babies.
Right.
But then maybe it would have been more, well, clearly we have to stop this. You guys are cannibalizing your future to placate this alien that you're scared of.
Right.
It turns it from that into, no, it's a gray line, but it's something that I can't abide, and I'm going to make a decision about.
Right.
For her. Faithless priest, not the most original character in fiction or genre fiction, but used well here. This is written by Peter Milligan.
Okay.
Peter Milligan of Vertigo fame, creator of Shade the Changing Man and a lot of stuff.
Okay, sure.
He's, just a Vertigo UK DC guy, and illustrated by Paul Johnson.
Okay.
Painted. It's all painted.
Yeah, it looks painted.
What'd you think of the art?
I liked it.
I do too. I think that it's a combination of like if Bill Sienkiewicz and Alex Ross like adopted a son.
Yeah.
It would, or daughter, the work would look like that.
I mean, I thought it was pretty expressive.
Yeah, it is.
So.
And I think it usually works pretty well. You can kind of tell what's going on. Sometimes not.
Yeah.
Sometimes not exactly.
It's not as good.
But he's this character of this priest who's questioning her faith, and ultimately, spoilers for a 30-year-old comic or whatever, ultimately gives it up.
Yeah.
Ultimately lets go of her faith the entire time. And we find out in a flashback story that she, again, you said that they know aliens exist. And I'm like, do they?
To.
But an alien was in her house or something?
Apparently. And her mother, sacrificed herself,
That, in my opinion, that was a little pat.
It was a little weird.
Yeah, here's a little pat. Here I am, Pat. But even higher. Hi, I'm Pat. It's a Norwegian accent. I thought that was a little too convenient. Like, oh, an alien got in my house, so I ran across the street to a church, and I was okay.
And I was taken in.
No, didn't the alien then kill everyone else in the town?
Yeah,
and
you would
wall
think
them
so.
up in the basement of the high school or something like that and start laying eggs?
Right.
Nope, she was okay.
Yeah.
But it was symbolic. It wasn't really
and it was
supposed to be a great, deep backstory.
Like, it's saying that she's been running ever since.
Yeah.
And all that stuff.
But anyway, she's, questioning her faith, and she keeps having nightmares about the alien's eyes or what the alien's staring at her or something like that.
Yeah.
And so when she goes out and decides to kill this thing at the end, she decides that she's going to look it in the eyes.
Yes.
And the eyes become a sort of stand-in for God.
Yes.
Or for her faith. And eventually she fights the alien, and it has no eyes.
Yes.
And there's nothing there. She realizes that, it's kind of sad when you think about it, because now she's blind, lives on this crappy planet with some guy she barely knows, is going to marry her, I guess. Yeah. And she doesn't believe God anymore. So,
but it is kind of sad.
Yeah. It's a downer. It's a bummer ending, kind of like our film. Also like our film, or unlike our film, why the need to show the alien vision?
I don't know.
Why the POV shots?
It seems silly.
Yeah, it's so silly because in light of a story like this, where we learn that the alien has no eyes, in fact, we pretty much have always known the alien has no eyes. We've never gotten into how they see because it doesn't matter. They're freaking scary.
Yeah.
No, we see alien vision, and he's got like wormy vision.
Yeah.
It's an alien. He's looking.
Why?
Why? You're like 80. Why at 80 did you decide, I'm going to do some POV?
I don't
I think
know.
he had his intern directed or something. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, would you recommend the story?
I would
I'm
recommend
trying to think of what else to say about it. Both of these are longish. They're probably, 50, 60 pages or something like that. It's still like an extra thick, comic single story.
Yeah, exactly.
This was originally published in 4 parts in an Aliens magazine in the UK.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, no, I would definitely recommend it. I think it was a good story in the Aliens universe. And I think it was,
it's Alien.
Alien universe,
Damn,
whatever.
We got it.
But because it was about character and
not about how the aliens are made.
Right, because that's not what we are really looking for.
Yeah, I'd agree. And like you just said, this, when we get right down to it, for me, this is the strength of the Aliens universe.
Yeah.
The stories you can tell.
Exactly.
Because you could easily take Alien out and it's just some monster in the woods.
Right.
And then it's a Shyamalan film. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be aliens.
No.
But it does work. And so often the Dark Horse comics just get caught up in like evil scientists trying to make the alien,
right,
or let's rock and roll and lock and load, and it's just Space Marines doing stuff and very bleak, and the characters getting torn apart in ridiculous ways and dying one by one.
Right.
And yeah, this is a nice kind of personal story where Peter Milligan, even then you didn't believe in God, huh? Wow, that far back. All right. That connects us directly to the next film book story that is in this collection, Aliens Salvation.
Yes.
Big religion theme going on.
Yes.
In these this pair of tales. What happens in Alien Salvation?
Alien Salvation, they're like a I'm not sure if they're like a salvage ship or there's some kind of ship. And
they're a ship.
And they're delivering something, and they don't really know what it is, but
it's an alien.
Yep, it's aliens.
Yep.
So, but the captain like freaks out and kind of abandons the mission at the last minute, and so him and this other guy who becomes like the main character,
Selkirk.
They kind of escape in this other pod or what have you,
right? And
end up on this desert island. And
very specifically in a like the hammer of significance type situation. There's a planet that's like a big ocean, and then there's like one big continent or one island on it. And so they land on that. What's the chances? I guess they're aiming for it.
Yeah, exactly.
I always like how people treat planets like a single location.
Right.
So like, oh, we're going to crash on this planet, and they crash. And oh, no, they're crashing too. Depending on how you approach the planet, what part of the orbit you're in, like crashing onto a planet, there's a reason that we don't worry about like satellites and space junk or Skylab or whatever too much, is because 3/4 of the world is ocean. You know where that thing's going to land. It's going to land in the water. Right.
No, that's absolutely right. So they land on this deserted island, and it's them living there for a little while, but basically the captain goes crazy, and the main guy has to kill him, and he feels horrible about that.
There's and this guy is a sort of flip-flop of the character from the first story, because he's just the cook or something on the ship.
Yes.
But he's like very religious, God-fearing. And a lot of this reminds me of, and it should, because it's written by Dave Gibbons, usually known as the artist for Watchmen, but he's also a creator and a writer in his own right.
Sure.
Illustrated by Mike Mignola.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
In a kind of early thing for him. So, yeah, but this reminds me a lot of the Black Freighter sections of Watchmen.
Okay.
You got a character who is stranded. He's in sort of desperate, dire situation. He's sort of narrating to himself what happened. He's going in and out of sanity.
Yes.
So that kind of reminds me of that.
Absolutely.
They look similar. Got beard.
Yeah.
Black hair. Right, but he kills that guy and eats him.
Yeah. So
Our hero.
He feels bad about that, and he prays about it, and he moves on.
Yeah, and as he's trying to, and they can't. This is important. They can't like eat the food on the planet. Like they're starving to death on the planet,
right?
Because they try to eat some of it and they get real sick, and so it's like an incompatible sort of biochemistry. So unless they leave, they'll die. He also runs into like sort of Homo habilis type monkey men.
Yes.
Like in the woods.
Yes.
They're clearly not like, sentient human beings, but they're kind of evolving creatures. And there's an alien running around. We know that.
Yes.
Bad news.
Yep.
And so he is looking for the escape pod or the ship or something like that so he can get out of there, and he finds one of the other crew members.
Yep.
Who's this like blonde woman who's been there the entire time. And so she kind of helps him out, and they try to find the escape pod so they can send a signal out or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And she's very capable. Like it's clear that she's she made it through the crash. He's kind of like, oh, I'm kind of sometimes I'm crazy and sometimes I'm not. And she kind of whips him into shape, and they have to get to this thing. But he discovers once they get attacked by aliens and kind of separated, they kind of get back together, and she's all messed up, and she's a synth. She's a
an
robot.
android. Yeah.
Like David.
Yes.
Who works for the company. And so they have to she basically needs him to do things for her now. He realizes the truth, though, that the cargo was aliens. They're carrying them for the corporation, which now, of course, if they wrote this story today, they'd have Weyland-Yutani just blazoned all over everything. But it's just the corporation. And, she reveals that I think they wanted to bring them to this planet because they could, like, breed them, in the ape people.
Yeah.
And so our guy, who is kind of nuts and ate another guy, becomes kind of our moral center because he's like, well, that's not going to work. And so instead of helping her and sending the signal out, he sets the ship to self-destruct, and it just blows the whole thing up.
Right.
Yeah. And then at the end, the very last page, a church ship, a missionary ship shows up and is like, we don't know what happened. This island blew up, and now the planet just looks like an eye because Mignola and Gibbons haven't learned subtle symbolism yet. And we don't know what happened. The end. It's another big kind of bummer ending.
It is a bummer ending.
What did you think about this one, about salvation?
I liked it. I thought it was another good story in the Alien universe. I imagine there's probably quite a few ships like theirs that there's the company or corporation or whatever is sending
probably
aliens out for breeding purposes.
Oh, is that how they make them?
Something like that.
How they time to make the alien?
Yeah, time to make the alien.
Yeah, I agree. Selkirk is a little harder to latch onto than a character like the character in the first story.
I agree.
He's a little harder to root for. It's kind of one of those films where it's like everybody is like, it's like a movie where these are all assholes, and I hope they're all dead by the end of this.
Right.
And a lot of times you get that. So you do. I mean, you get that. They all blow up. Yeah.
Yes, you do get that.
And you kind of wonder what it was all worth. But yeah, it's interesting to see that, again, there's a moral line. There's what are you going to take? What are you going to stand by and let happen? What are you going to put up with?
Yeah.
And even for this character who is kind of out on the edge of sanity, enough is enough. This is too much. And I'm going to strike back. And unlike the character in Sacrifice, his faith is strengthened the whole way.
Yes.
One thing I have to say that even back then, or maybe just back then, because I haven't really read like a current Mignola story, but back then he understood pacing like so well. And I know I joke about when we've reviewed Mignola books before about how Hellboy falls down a hole, and then while he's getting out of the water, he's half in, half out of the water. There'll always be like 3 or 4 panels of statues just looking at that stuff, or like here's a picture of a rock that's on the ground. But he does that for a reason. He does it for pacing, because it's not like a film. You know what I mean?
Right.
You need to get the eye to look at things, to linger on things, to sort of replicate that same sort of action beats that you would get in a film. Not that comics have to be films. And so he does that really well. And it almost trivializes the danger that the aliens represent. Because we know that the aliens have, the ship has crashed.
Right.
The aliens got onto the planet, and because, the story is 50 pages long or whatever, but many weeks sort of pass.
Yes.
Like while all this is going on, and in that time, the aliens have gotten into the monkey people, and now there's a whole bunch of aliens.
Right.
So all throughout the book, they're fighting aliens, but it isn't like this shot by shot, literally like gun porn combat thing. You just know, then they fought some aliens, and we get to the next scene.
Right.
And it makes the aliens seem like not that big of a menace, but I do like how well he does. He's got 3 or 4 panels where it's like, we got to get over here. And so we went over there, the narration's saying, and it was tough, and my faith faltered. And there'll be one scene where he's like, they're both running across the field, and just bracka, 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 bracka. Or they're climbing up a thing and like shooting the gun down, bracka, 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 gun up, bracka, bracka, bracka. And that's where they were fighting guys.
Right.
But it's not like, oh, then he shoots over here, and then the alien jumps up on the thing. And then we don't care about that.
No.
Because we care about like this story, and we care about this guy's mental state. And that was, he just did that really well. And then, of course, the finale is awesome, even though it's super kind of cheesy. But because he programs the thing to self-destruct, as he's doing that, he's inside the ship, but the aliens are breaking in to the ship as he's going through, and he's giving his final narration about how, well, I guess it was always going to come to this, but you're there for me, Lord, and he forever and ever, amen. And as he's praying, the aliens breaking through the thing until it gets right up to his face, and he says amen, and then, of course, that's the point when the entire blood. It's like that's very movie. Like you can see that, happening. I just thought that was great.
It was,
and
great.
I wish that Mike Mignola did more comics. We gotta get a Kickstarter. Buy that guy some black magic markers. You always know it's Mignola art if it's black magic markers and like no background.
Yeah.
Don't even draw a background. Don't worry about it. We gotta hook him up with a guy like Gerhard, like how Dave Sim had Gerhard to do all the backgrounds.
There
and
you
stuff.
go.
Or not. It's just his style. It'd be too dark to see what's going on anyway. So you recommend this?
Yes. I would recommend this.
I would as well. That's why we picked them, because it's really good. You can get it online. Go to Amazon, or you can click through our Amazon banner on our page and get it that way. I'll have a link through the web for the posts on the page of the thing and the guy, where you can check this out as well. It's old stuff, but it's good stuff, and the art is fantastic in both of them. The writing is great, and I definitely think you should check it out. Aliens, Sacrifice, and Salvation from Dark Horse Comics. Next time on Comic Book Club in 2 weeks, like we said before, the Wonder Woman film is coming out on July 2nd, and so we've got to jump on that train for sure. And so we will be doing that. On our show, we'll be talking about George Perez's run on Wonder Woman.
There we go.
In this case, we'll be doing issues 1 through 6 of his original run of rebooting Wonder Woman in the 80s, bringing her, kind of rebooting her pre-crisis origins and setting a new standard for Marvel, DC Comics' Wonder Woman. Why not the Azzarello Wonder Woman issues?
Oh,
Why aren't we doing those?
I don't know.
Because they suck.
What?
They don't suck, but it's not great.
The story ends up not really going anywhere.
No. If this conversation was written by Brian Azzarello, we'd be finishing each other's
sandwiches.
Right.
Yeah.
And we'd be very clever about it, too.
Uh-huh.
And kind of rubs me the wrong way sometimes. So we're going classic. We're going back to the Perez on this one. So issues 1 through 6 of George Perez's Wonder Woman. You can get that anywhere. You probably have it. And so we're talking about that and how it relates to the film, because we'll have a review of that as well. So check it out. George Perez's Wonder Woman, issues 1 through 6, next time on Comic Book Club. Everybody's got to get their Firewalk with Me videos ready to go.
Yes.
Everybody's doing it now.
Yep.
Because the Twin Peaks show is currently out.
Is it really?
And we'll pretend like you act like you've been there. We're nerd experts.
Oh, yeah, it is.
You enjoyed it, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
And we'll have our impressions of it for our next show. While we're talking about the next show, I should mention that we are doing our Craft to Services segment again. And because we're everybody, because everybody includes everybody, we got to do ours too.
That's right.
Talk Firewalk with Me. Twin Peaks Firewalk with Me. A little preview of that?
I'm looking forward to it.
I love how positive and kind of neutral you can sound at the same time when you say it. You're like, that's going to be great. Can't wait for that. Yeah, the much maligned at the time. We'll talk about the reception that it got, the reception it enjoys now.
Yes.
If that's changed at all. And our own opinions, of course, and all the good stuff. And then, of course, have our impressions on the show itself. So join us then. Before then, join us in other places. Go to Facebook and Twitter and join us there. Like us and follow us and get into the conversation. Get your tongue wet. Let me explain what I mean.
Oh, please
I was trying to say, like, get your feet wet.
Yeah.
And you got to use your tongue to talk. So in this case, you're going to get your tongue wet. Doesn't really work.
Okay.
I need to get my tongue wet. I'm drying out here, so let's wrap this up. You can get us there. Also, find us on iTunes. Subscribe to the show on iTunes. Best way to get the show. This was turning into a Trump thing, but I just can't even do it anymore. And we shouldn't do it because it normalizes him. But you can give us a review. Normalize us. Tell us how you think we're doing, and also give us a rating when you're there. We need it so badly. That's how iTunes knows we're doing a good job. That affects what they call the algorithm, and that's how we get up there in the ranks. We get to be exposed to more people. So give us 5 scenes where it pulls away from the door. You don't see what's happening, and you hear, blah, blah, blah. Just 5 of those. Why use that when you have clearly decided that you are going hard R, veering into X for the amount of like gore that you have in this film?
I don't know.
Like this thing about when Kane gets the thing comes out of his chest.
Yep.
And Veronica Cartwright gets sprayed with the blood. She didn't know apparently it was going to happen, which is why she's like, ah!
Yeah.
That is supposed to be so gross, so viscerally reactive.
Yes.
That you think about it for the rest of the film.
Yes.
It's not like we see Harry Dean Stanton get his spine pulled out of his eye socket or something like that, and he just kind of dies.
Right.
This movie is a surgery video from the medical channel.
Yes.
All the way through it, and then suddenly they get real demure when it just starts. Oh, let's just pull out. Let's just let them have their moment. It's fine. I thought that was really strange. Also, there's a lot of like unintended references because when David comes in to kill what's her name, Daniels, it's like another movie called Alien where a synth is going to kill a woman, and he stuffs a magazine in her mouth. There are all these papers and scrolls
That's true.
in this room, and I thought, is he going to stuff like one of those scrolls in her mouth? No, I don't think the movie even knew. Ridley Scott doesn't even remember shooting that. It doesn't even know that it's supposed to be referencing itself right here.
Yeah, no kidding.
So forget all that and just give us 5 stars. Once again, we are talking about Twin Peaks on the next show, so get your log and your damn good coffee and your cherry pie and join us at the Double R Diner. Until then, we're signing off. I'm your host, Caliban.
I'm your co-host, Mikan Hana.
Keep the geek fires burning.